The more grass you grow, the less work you do.
There'll be farmers listening to this like, nah, come on, I don't know that we could be doing that. That can't be possible.
That can't be possible. There's the limiting belief. We could be Star Trekking across the universe for a long bloody time on this one. Well, it is really changing. It is really working. It is making a massive difference to how we farm and how we enjoy life.
We were talking about the key principles of regenerative farming, and we were just getting down to livestock before we had to take a break there. And the question I have for you is, why are animals considered a key part of regenerative systems?
They leave compost heaps everywhere.
Yeah.
Look, grasslands specifically, which is most of the people that are talking about regenerative principles, and even taking to cropping. Livestock are amazing. They trample the dirt, they shit, the plant species regrow, they regenerate. There's a huge myriad of things that the interaction of pastoral lands. One of the things that what we have to take into context is that if you look at, say, the prairies in the US and look in Africa with all the wildebeest and all running around, they're absolute grasslands. There wasn't very, very, very much of grasslands in this country. We had lots of bushlands.
Oh, okay.
And so what we have to look at is climate, soil, and how we go about creating those grasslands. Because like where we farm, it was native bush. The soil was never, ever going to be a grassland. There was no way in the world. We had carry trees on there that was 2,000 years old. They ended up at the supports of the Waihi mine. So we had to adjust the soil to be more in line with the grassland. And so what we haven't done in most of this regenerative process is going, well, where were the best grasslands? What grew the healthiest animals? And then William Albrecht did a lot of that work in the central US. And, looking, the buffalo roamed, millions of them. And they were on natural grasslands. And they were very fertile soils. They were up to 7 foot deep. And, they were very...
That's amazing.
Yeah.
7 feet. And we talk about 3 feet at a max, don't we?
Yeah. Well, if you're lucky, if you can get down to that. But so...
Yeah.
Like a lot of the central US came out from glacial inland sea.
Yeah.
And there's a whole myriad of circumstances, like around Kentucky, it's limestone, and all of these parts have differing aspects of grassland and forest and soils and climate. So if you want to be a regenerative farmer, the best thing to do is actually set your soils up or understand what really healthy grassland farming is, what the soil actually tends to want to be. So then you go into protein production instead of carbon tree production. The likes of Elaine Ingham would define it more as the higher the fungal species in the soil and no bacterial, you'll end up with a growing forest. And so then if you go more bacterial, you'll go into protein production. We go grasses.
Grass, yeah.
Yeah, but actually, and in that regard, you've got to have a healthy in between.
How is it that protein equals grass?
Protein's generally got nitrogen.
Okay.
And
that supports what grass requires.
Yeah.
Okay. So then I guess the logical question then is, how do you mimic natural systems, but clearly it's not natural because you have a farm and you're making it an outcome that you want. So how do you mimic natural ecosystems?
Well, that's where you have test and measure.
Okay.
And that's the part where we really haven't fully understood, or it hasn't been well studied, or it hasn't been well educated to the general public, because there's less money in it for big business.
Yeah.
Which drives the whole process.
Yeah. Well, how would you, with that in mind, what's one of the steps that people make to set it up to feel natural somehow? Generally,
they don't.
Okay. But you do.
Yeah, we take a different approach to it, basically, because we're trying to find out what happens in the soil, into the grass production, to our absolute production in our livestock. So we're seeing production at differing levels, like how much carbon have we grown, how much minerals availability, how much grass we grow from that, then how healthy did the animals, how healthy are they from eating that? Are we getting full utilization out of the feed? Is everything there to create that absolute abundance and the absolute health, and then how good is the product that comes out the other end of that.
And I suppose the other thing is what natural system you're trying to mimic anyway. I mean, it's not like you're trying to mimic buffalo 7-foot deep soils in the US because we're not using buffalo on our lands.
Well,
maybe there's a perfect geographical location that you'd be like, okay, if I can get it to be like that here in Waihi, that'd be great.
Well, buffalo country doesn't have our rainfall.
Yeah.
Okay. And in fact, the buffalo, same as a cow, just a bit bigger, big feet, trample the grass, and they move in great herds and they eat it off just like you break fencing them. So that we are, in a way, mimicking them, that they go across these plains and munching their way across.
Yeah.
Just like, and you see that in the same process in Africa with all the wildebeest and the zebra and all that. They move in this massive herd and they do it for protection, but they also do it, it cleans the grass off and it comes back and, there's a cycle to the whole process.
Do you think there's something like, say, sheep that have been brought to New Zealand a couple of hundred years ago from Scottish Highlands, and you're trying to find an equivalent place where you can mimic that for them in New Zealand? And maybe, what's the best version of a sheep in Australia where it's really hot?
Yeah, well, I mean, all of these things come into fruition. It was like they eat grass. Have we got a system that we actually are creating grass, not forest? And what's happening is what we're seeing is that, a lot of farmers complaining about the weeds, thistles and things like that, and saying, going, okay, well, one of the critical factors that have been neglected in grassland farming is the silicon cycle.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so grasses require soluble silicon as silicic acid to grow in a healthy state.
And the weeds are bringing that up.
Well, the weeds are trying to because they're going, we've run out, so the grasses won't grow, and hence we don't have a very strong sward. So we've neglected one of the aspects, or one of the biggest aspects, of running a pastoral system in a regenerative process, or any sort of process. We've just neglected it, full stop.
So what happens in the soil in the pasture when grazing is done regeneratively?
Well, if we get the cycle right, then there's this recycling of everything. I mean, the cow walks along and eats, and inside the rumen of the cow, if it's got the right fungal species, it poops on the ground and it leaves a compost heap.
Yeah.
And then that gets out through the soil. So it's feeding. It's it's back and forth all the time.
Yeah.
But if you go in there and you start cutting crops all the time and not putting material back in to feed the soil, which is an energy base going back in, it's a carbon supply, whether that's from the sugars coming down the plants or you're actually folding the carbon, like the grassland, right down on the ground so it's getting digested. It's there for the energy. The biology needs the energy to grow. I mean, what do we do with carbohydrates?
We turn it into other things.
Fats.
Well, yeah, we turn it into fats, but it's also, in the human, it's a certain amount available already in glycogen for muscle.
That's right. So energy, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that takes us then to when regenerative farming works, the soil becomes more like a living ecosystem than a growing medium. And the medium sort of reminds me of discussions we've had about biochar in the past. I'll come back to that. But what biological shifts happen when a farm transitions?
Well, the way I look at this process is that humus is actually what I would call a protein. It only comes about in a stable form when it's gone through a digestive process that the soil can actually create a proteinous type substance. It's always got X amount of phosphorus, nitrogen, sulfur, calcium, and it's always got these nutrients in it. And so, it doesn't just happen from carbon alone. It needs all of that stuff to make a stable humus product in the soil.
Yeah.
So if you get your systems right, you grow humus.
Yeah.
Then you grow, because of that, humus has all these nutrients in it. As it oxidizes in the summer period of month, the hot, it gives off nutrient. It gives off carbon dioxide as it does so. The plant uses it for photosynthesis. So there's an actually, the soils are actually feeding itself. And you come along and you've got the cow dung, manure, the plants interacting with the soils. And so all of these things, like the more that you get some depth on the plant, the more it can photosynthesize, the more sugars it can put down, the more biology it can affect, the more growth you get. So it's a round and round circles. It just keeps going.
So what's the ideal sort of levels of porosity or soil structure that you want to see changing over time?
Well, that all comes with it because it matches up with the climate, the soil type, and where you start to see a bigger carbon sponge. And so in the summertime, you'll have more moisture held in the soil. If you're growing taller crops, then you've covered the soil, as we talked before. So we kept that nice and cool. So then we can actually grow more grass. So it's all the one thing I would say that what I've seen is in the wintertime, we can make a hell of a mess, or it looks like a hell of a mess because we've got that much carbon in the soil. It's very easy to trample it, but the thing is that it recovers that damn fast. You wouldn't even know that you'd actually made a mess a little while later.
Speaking of mess and trampling, what's happening with drought or flood resilience? I think flood resilience is kind of the topic at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, we're not on steep country.
Yeah.
But yeah, we weren't really affected by the flood, but others were. There was quite a few slips around Waihi, which was unusual.
And if anyone listening overseas, we've had some weather events in the last few weeks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, we've had plenty of weather events before.
Oh, yeah, we have, yeah.
And I'd say the biggest ones that we find is in the dry weather and even in the cold, like when, if you get a cold spring start and everyone was slow this spring, we had enough. We didn't have abundance, huge quantities of feed, but everyone else was struggling. And we got away all right. But now, like with us growing over the summer with the amount of rain we've had, oh man, we got some feed. And
yeah, I bet.
And yet the neighbours are green and they're growing, but they've not produced the amount of the bulk of feed that we've got.
Okay. Okay.
But then if it goes dry, I've got months of feed compared to what they've got. Like they'll go one round. If it went dry right now, they'd be in one rotation, which is quite quick for them because they're on they're probably around 24, 25 days.
Mm-hmm.
One rotation, if it goes dry, they'll be feeding out silage.
Okay.
We'd be at least 60 days from that.
Yeah, and your land wouldn't be at risk of drying up so quickly either.
That's
because
right.
the moisture factor would be held better.
Totally. So we're in a way better position. Leave the tractor in the shed. Costs money.
All right. So let's talk about pests, weeds, resilience, disease dynamics again. Do healthier soils generally lead to healthier plants, or it seems like a dumb question again, but I suppose you'll have people think that they can't have healthy plants and think that their soil is healthy.
Yeah. Oh, look, it just all flows.
Yeah.
It just starts. And you can't have healthy plants from a sick soil.
Mm-hmm.
As Paula keeps saying, it's like when you buy a most beautiful bunch of flowers, you don't go home and put a vase of dirty water and scummy stuff. You take care of that plant. And so the soil is the origin of the plant's fertility.
Okay.
Even though it takes so much out of the atmosphere, carbon dioxide and its growth, there's only a small proportion of the mineralogy in that, but it's all driven from the soil.
Sort of reminds me of when you were talking on Ross's farm about what was called the piss patches. And then there were those other patches where the grass was luxuriously deep, dark green. But you taught me that wasn't necessarily the best thing you want.
No. And over time, you'll see the change where the whole paddock will just go a nice luxuriant green, but not that dark green.
It's slightly lighter.
Yeah. So it's just a process of getting those soils right. I mean, people don't realise how far we've gone backwards or how good we can actually be. And hence, that's what we're talking about earlier about those paradigms. It's like, do you want to break them, or is that too hard on thinking that maybe we've done something wrong for such a long period of time and that's holding you back from getting a lot better?
Yeah. So if we talk about pests, what are common ones that we see in New Zealand? And then maybe for our Australian and Northern Hemisphere viewers, we could speak to the sort of things they might see as well that you're aware of.
Look, I think probably the biggest one in the sheep industry and beef industry at the moment is drench resistance for worms and internal parasites. And to me, it's just nutrition. That's all there is to it. I mean, generally, just about 100% of the time, you'll see if you've got drench resistance, you'll have nitrate problems. You'll see the piss patches in the paddock. You'll know that there's no incomplete protein structure. You'll get low oxygen in the body, and it just causes mayhem in the animals. And there's nothing that grows faster than a little fat lamb for the amount of feed it eats. Right. So it needs to be full of nutrition so it can actually create the structure in itself. But if you don't give it the right minerals and the right process, it just doesn't happen. And then you're going into sacrifice, mate. Oh, drench it with this and got this. Oh, I've got drench resistance. And really, if you just fix the soil, it would have gone away anyway.
So this speaks to the concept of good nutrition prevents parasites.
Yes, absolutely.
That's fascinating.
What you saw with that when we're at Lance and Ross's there, Lance said, I did drench the calves once.
Yeah, they did, just the once.
Just the once. Now, they were on the same rotation. Now, everyone would say, oh, you don't leave your young stock on the same rotation because they leave worms behind and they'll catch up with them next time around. You want some older stock to come along and chew them off and all that. They're staying on the same rotation. They've been drenched once. They were in bloody awesome nick. They were looking fantastic. That just comes back to that nutrition.
So for non-farmers like me, what's the ingredients in the drench and what's its intended purpose?
Oh, look, there's all sorts of things like ivermectin, fibendazole, and all these things. They're there to kill the parasite.
Yeah.
Yeah. And basically, people have been led to believe that that's just a natural process that parasites turn up, where I say they only turn up when there's a nutritional deficiency.
That's pretty amazing.
Just that's the way it is.
So how do we see diversity in I guess plant species reduce those pest outbreaks? Is it?
Well, it's just part of the natural cycle because the diversity brings different uptake of minerals from the soil.
Okay.
So like if you look at the clovers, you bring up a lot more calcium, a lot more boron, and also you'll see the cobalt come up in the pinking of the nodules in the clover. So when those cycles are working, that's one part of it. In the springtime, if you've got annual ryegrass, it's got a higher magnesium content and it fits in with the process of actually helping the cows get through spring without metabolic problems. So if you've got a species that runs through the season and changes, that was nature's design all of the time.
Yeah, right.
So the multiple of species actually transition through the season for what's required from those animals in a natural state.
I remember Lance saying at the beginning that one of the first things he noticed was a drop in pasture output as he went through the transitional change. And at first you're thinking, oh no, this hasn't worked out for him. And then he goes, actually, but then animal health's improved. There's this, there's that. We're doing less of other things. And then that phase passed. In that transitional phase, what sort of shifts do you expect with weed pressures?
Well, I mean,
like,
if we
does it
go
get worse or better? Or?
We'll go back to that issue to start with. Like,
yeah,
they were using 180 units of N per year at that stage.
That a lot?
That's a lot.
Okay.
Okay. So that's 360.
Compared to what he was using 5 units by
yeah.
N.
So basically what was that they cut the nitrogen off.
Yeah.
And so we went to a different model of putting some fish on and some nitrogen in with the fish and some molasses.
Mm-hmm.
That was the dip because he wasn't throwing nitrogen at it hand over time.
That was the pasture dip. Right.
That was the pasture dip. Okay. So when you start in the autumn or you get going on a moist season, you can get this thing underway. You don't have to go through the pasture dip. But that's just what they noticed because they decided, right, we'll stop the nitrogen and we'll go down this track. Interesting enough, they didn't drop production that year.
That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your visible approach is like, oh, we haven't grown as much grass, but cows
your
still
output
milking.
was still good.
Still good, yeah.
Yeah.
So what we have to look at is like, that's a paradigm change. It didn't look whatever. So then the next step, they didn't have huge or massive problems of weeds on that farm, which was quite lucky. But a lot of other farms do. But if they get the soil started, and we can actually put some pictures in here of a couple of farms with some thistles, the Californian thistles in the first 12 months are still there, but they're looking really sick. And so the soil's already changed and the process.
Thistles are looking sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the soil has already decided, hey,
we're done now.
We're done now. You've done my job. You're done here. See you later. And so these farms will just roll over. Now, it changes a lot if you've done a lot of cultivation and regrassing and that. But on the older farms that haven't done so much, these older species come back quite quickly. I mean, we were in one paddock where the red clover was coming in, and that was an old style red clover. So those species will come as the soil changes. They are sitting there waiting for this. They do know what nutrition is, but we have tried to override it.
Yeah, because people have conventionally been pushing for a certain outcome, right? Does regenerative farming eliminate chemicals or just reduce reliance on them?
Well, we pretty much eliminated.
Eliminated them for sure. That's from what I've been seeing.
Yeah.
But I suppose, you keep it within balance as best as possible, but no one's a fan of Roundup because it's so disgusting.
Well, some people are a fan of that.
Yeah. Sorry, on the side of the fence.
Yeah, on the side of the fence. Yeah, no, we're definitely not a fan. Anything that kills shit, you're going backwards.
You got to wonder.
Yep.
Yeah. Climate and environmental impact. So this is an interesting topic because some people think that the carbon debate is kind of BS, but let's talk to it.
Well, look, as far as farmers are concerned, what I've seen about all this climate and weather and all that sort of thing, the better your farm is, the less concerned about the climate you are.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so like if the farm's pinging along and, you get to springtime and in a normal season, you've got to put some nitrogen on, grow some grass and all this sort of stuff. But the more the farm is actually pinging in a really good way, the less you're concerned about the climate. Like you walk out the door and it's pissing down with rain. Oh, well, if there's no down cows and you got plenty of grass and milking's okay and calves are healthy, you're not so concerned about this rain that just won't stop, or it would seem that it would not stop on a farm where everything's going wrong. And then rolling into summertime, like, oh, I haven't got enough, it's dry and everything. And if the farm's going really good, you got plenty of grass and there's no problems and the weeds didn't turn up. So as far as climate change as a farming perspective, if your farm's getting worse, we've got climate change.
Yeah, right, if it is.
Yeah.
Well, so how significant is soil carbon sequestration in regenerative systems?
Well, that's the part where I'm really struggling to see anyone else get the numbers that we are and the approach that we're taking. And that's the part where I am actually seeing is the critical part of setting the soil up to be able to create that humus and to understand how it stays in the soil. And certainly what we've talked about, like this cobalt issue, like when you look at selenium, iodine, nickel, cobalt, molybdenum, they're all essential parts in growing humus. Now, you've got all the other big minerals, calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, and they're all there, but you haven't got those guys, and you've introduced cyanobacteria, and it'll stop. It will stop just for the sake of 50 grams of molybdenum or 20 grams of actual selenium per hectare. Like these are just tiny amounts, but it will stop. And that's the level of accuracy that we're required in what we're talking about in regenerative grazing. So when you can isolate them or actually go through the numbers and go, oh, yeah, look, there, it stopped there. Oh, so we got the soil test, we got that numbers are there, cool. We can look at the right fungal species to clean out that. These guys are the biological process. These traces have got to be added in. You're actually isolating all the issues and you give the soil a feed, let the microbes go work for you. They'll produce the carbon in the soil.
What do we see then in that regard to conventional farming versus what we're going to term as regenerative when it comes to water quality?
Oh, look, the thing is that we're building a carbon sponge or a filter, and carbon filters are used in all environmental processes. Yeah. And so we've created this magnificent carbon filter where we don't let anything go.
So this reminds me again about biochar, which helps create a structure if you needed it.
Yeah.
But it's something that you don't get involved with.
Well, it gets pricey, but it does what the humus does. It creates a structure in the soil, a carbonaceous structure in the soil for other things to hold on to, nutrient to hold on to, biology and that sort of stuff. And I can see why it works.
Yeah.
But in a situation like where, large farm and the amount of biochar you need and all that sort of stuff, I'd rather let the microbes do it.
Is this the same concept that people talk about after nature has a wildfire, things grow back great?
There's lots of circumstances in that. There's nutrient gets released, there's some carbon, there's silicons released because like as soon as you get silicon over a certain temperature, it turns to hydroxide, then you're starting another cycle. So there's a lot of things if you look at a wildfire going through that actually allow the regeneration.
Oh, that's interesting. How does biodiversity, both wildlife and microbial, respond to these kind of changes when we go more regenerative?
Well, I think if you come to the farm, like we've got a lot of birds, we've got a huge amount of diversity, and it's just a nice place to be. It really does change how farms operate. Really, really does change.
And realistically, how can that reduce to emissions reductions and the storing of carbon in the soil and that sort of thing?
Well, I think this is a part of
not using the tractor, turning the diesel tractor on is one.
I don't try and buy into this emissions bullshit because there is an environmental problem.
Yeah.
And it is showing up a little bit in the emissions, but I put it down to the people that are complaining or trying to stop this are the actually big participants. Like if you look at the councils, they spray the drains. They've killed the cyanobacteria. everywhere you go, they're saying, "Oh, we don't want this." Like if we've got no spray signs outside the front of the farm.
Yep.
And where the no spray sign stops, and then they spray it, and then they got bristlegrass.
Yeah.
And that they're trying to get rid of the bristlegrass, but we don't have any bristlegrass, and we didn't spray.
Yeah.
It's like, oh God, you
The
guys
irony.
just don't get this thing. And so then what they do spray, then it runs down the waterways and gets into the river. And then there's all these huge biological processes that have been shut down by bad behaviour. Then we get told we're the problem, the farmers are the problem. Well, who sold you this, that, and the other bloody thing and all the other carry on? Like we're being told what to do, but the consequence haven't been measured well enough.
When it comes to organic versus regenerative, let's do a little bit of myth busting here.
Okay. Oh, there's nothing wrong with organic, but organic by default, meaning I don't do anything.
Yeah.
You can get certified because you didn't put any of this on, no chemicals, no this, no that. That doesn't mean you've done anything any good.
Or that you have the most healthy, vibrant farm. It's just things you don't do.
But then on the other side, we've got organic farmers that do all of these things. And they're very, very successful farmers.
Yeah, vibrant.
Very vibrant, very profitable farms. So organics by default of doing nothing is just throwing my hands in the air,
Yeah.
And then, but organic by taking notice of what they're doing, looking after their animals.
Proactive.
Yep, really cool.
Because
really,
people often assume regenerative and organic, same thing.
No.
Yeah.
Organic, when you come down to certification processes, it's about what you don't do, what you're not allowed to do.
Yeah, there's no certifier who comes on and go, gosh, what a beautiful looking environment.
No. Well, some of them may enjoy that process going to those farms, but there's quite a diversity.
That's what you would hope for. That would be what the intention of being organic was about, right?
I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how are regenerative and organic farming different philosophically? Or they shouldn't be, should they?
Well, this is where, what is the philosophy and what does the name mean? Like, is it regenerative? Like people keep going, what is regenerative? And I'm going, well, I guess if you've done something and you've got an outcome and it's fantastically better than what you did before, it had to be regenerative.
Well, can you be organic without regenerating soil? I suppose you could be.
You can, but it's still messy.
And a lot of inputs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or no inputs and it's still messy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can conventional farmers still adopt regenerative principles?
Of course they can. It's just science and nature, and it's just paradigm busting. That's all.
Yeah.
That's just the paradigm busting,
Okay. Why is regenerative agriculture described as outcome-based?
Well, you'd like to see an outcome out of it, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I mean, basically, he's going, I'm going to be a regenerative farmer. Cool. What are you actually trying to achieve? What is it? What's the outcome that you would like? Okay, have you plotted how you're going to get to that point? So a lot of people just say they've started on this process of rotational grazing. That's a good starting point. What about the other parts you're going to put in place with it? What are the limiting factors that you can go with it so that you can be the most outrageously good regenerative farmer with the most outrageously good outcomes?
Okay.
And I think we've set the bar far too low.
Oh, have you?
Not us personally, but I've seen the bar set way too low.
Yeah. Okay. What's led to that? The
inability to get those outcomes.
Must disappoint you.
No.
When you set bar that low.
Yeah, I don't know. I grin a little bit because I be inside because again, been there, done that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Carry on.
Okay, this might sort of be a little bit like rapid fire question answer here. Let's talk about practical levers farmers can work with. So seeds. How does plant genetics influence regenerative outcomes?
Well, it usually empties the pockets pretty quickly because you've got to spend a lot of money on seed to grow those fancy crops and all that sort of stuff. And you've had the tractor out and you've cultivated and all that. Fine in certain circumstances, but I would absolutely categorically say find out what your soil's doing even before you turn the tractor on and know what your limiting factors are. Like if you don't know what those limiting factors are and you're taking guesses, it costs lots of money.
Okay. Cropping systems. What rotations or mixes work well or best?
The best if they're ploughed and they've actually understood what they're trying to achieve when they're cultivating soil. So some people need to grow a winter crop or a summer crop. Well, then they need to go, okay, what sort of plant am I going to put in and how's this going to work? I talked to one down in Hawke's Bay not long ago. He said, I'm planting this crop and it's leafy turnips and all that sort of stuff. And I say, cool. So what if we get your soil working really good and you grow a red clover, natural red clover, and you could break fence that just like you do your leafy turnips? And goes, well, I wouldn't have to crop. and go, that's exactly what I'm after. So he says, I've got 18 hectares of flats here and got another one over here, and go, well, that's what we want to do then for you. If you don't have to start the tractor to crop it, but the red clover and all these other species that come up naturally could do that job for the leafy, turnip, aren't you better off? Hell yeah.
Yeah, I was really impressed when Lance said he stopped cropping.
Yeah.
For the non-farmer like myself, what does that mean?
Well, it means they're trying to put in a protective gap, knowing that it's going to hot and dry in the summer, and they have a crop that they can put the cattle onto. But what I keep chasing is if you can grow more grass and get more cover and it's healthy, then you have grown a crop over the whole farm and not had to do any work with it.
So I didn't really realize how significant that was, but when he said it and you went, that meant you understood how much time was being saved, right?
Yeah, because he had been doing a winter crop.
Yeah.
And cut and carry with the silage, and it was actually stripping one of the runoffs they had. And I said, look, you're going to have to get the cattle back on here if you're going to get this thing to go, because you're taking too much away at once. And Lance sort of looked at me cross-eyed, and Ross said, yeah, I agree. We're and anyway, we've grown enough on the dairy platform that he doesn't have to come and strip it out. So he's only making silage down on the runoff. And he didn't have to have a crop because now there's enough silage to feed the cows in the wintertime without doing a crop. So he was doing a crop before and feeding the silage and all these other running around. So the amount of dry matter that we're growing is lifted incredibly, and hence it stops work. The more grass you grow, the less work you do.
There'll be farmers listening to this for which that'll be paradigm pushing. They'll be like, nah, come on, I don't know if we could be doing that. That can't be possible.
That can't be possible is the
limiting belief.
The limiting belief. And I've had it fed back to me on a couple of occasions where people said, oh, we were looking at that system, but I talked to some independent scientists or independent people, and they said it just couldn't work.
Oh, man.
Yeah, but that's all right. But the thing was, did the independent people come and look either? No. So they've limited their beliefs to what they know now. So for the people that they're talking to, they're all limiting their beliefs to what they've got right now instead of looking at, well, what can we get? Or has somebody else done this? And that's why I travelled so much to start with when I was out there looking, because I wanted to bloody well know if anyone was.
Maybe their belief is true enough if based on the existing paradigm they work within, you couldn't just go do that.
That would be absolutely correct.
A whole bunch of other stuff would have to change for it to be real, and that's what you've got to embrace and be open to. Grazing patterns. What defines regenerative grazing?
Well, basically, it's letting the grass grow up and break fencing it. Now, most people, as far as the dairy industry goes, go, yeah, we've been doing that forever. I would certainly tweak that, because as the pasture gets better and better, it allows you to change your management and go into longer rotations and do different things and not have to do crops and things like that. There's a whole lot of stuff that changes, but that can only come around into absolute extent once you've got the soils working with the change in pasture managed and grazing.
Okay. I think you've answered this, but I'll put it there anyway as part of our quickfire. Soil amendments, what role do compost, biochar, and minerals play?
Well, compost and biochar, to me, are consumables you've had to pay to bring onto the farm.
More inputs.
Where minerals, if they're accurately applied, I mean, because there is a reason, and you're feeding a system to allow it to do the job.
Yeah, well, you don't want to overdo minerals, right? Not only because of cost, but because of throwing balance off.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
You get accuracy. So that's an investment.
Yeah.
It's not a consumable.
If the last one's about accuracy, why is it not a consumable? You're still paying for it as an input.
Yeah,
if minerals are, how do you differentiate that from the biochar and the compost?
Because you keep putting the other ones on.
Okay.
Where you put the mineral on until you've ascertained and solved that problem, where it will keep going for you.
Okay.
So like when we talk about the cows pooing in the paddock, it's returning that mineral to go back through a digestive system to go back round again and around. They have a function as part of it. Okay. Only a very small quantity leaves the farm as product every year.
Okay.
So you're being very accurate about what you need to keep that system working.
Okay, which is usually then just a little bit of minerals.
Yeah, just the amendments that you require to keep it going or improve.
Yeah, amendments, soil amendments, that's the right terminology for it, isn't it? Because it's not huge change. It's amending. So biology, How do farmers encourage fungi and bacteria populations?
Stop using chemicals.
Straight up. Okay.
Yeah. Well, we introduce them, but give them an environment that they go to work in. So you stop using the chemicals, sort out the minerals that are missing, silicons and all that, put them in a nice manner that they can be gobbled up by the biology, and they will pay you back handsomely.
In a recent comment on YouTube on the video from the case study, of course, the title was "No Worms." Then this happened.
Oh, yeah.
And someone obviously wanted to talk about that. And so they said, yeah, well, where I live, we bought a whole bunch of horse manure, and boy, the amount of worms on the farm, or how much worms was in it, was phenomenal. So they've brought worms in through this amendment, this adding.
Yeah.
What do you feel about that? Like, what's your perspective on adding something like worms in that way, or would you rather see a change that they grew naturally?
Oh, well, I generally look at the cost of inputs and about the limiting factors. I mean,
because Ross and Lance's ones grew naturally once they had that mineral balance change.
Absolutely. And basically,
or whatever it was that you tailored for them.
The worms in the soil are like whales in the ocean. That they're eating all these other microbes and all these other biology. They don't eat dirt. They eat they're digesting all the microbes in the soil, and they're popping out the other end. So when they brought the horse manure, they may have brought some more microbes, changed a few other things, and then the worms can stay. Cool, great. Set an environment up for them. That's that's part of it. You set an environment for them so they can come.
Okay, animals. Beyond grazing, how do animals contribute to nutrient cycling?
Oh, look, just the dung, compost heaps every day out on the ground. Yeah, you just it's got to be part of the cycle. I see people doing cut and carry, and I've gone to these farms and go, look, you're going to have to get some animals. If you're going to do so many cuts a year, you're going to have to stop at least one.
What does cut and carry mean?
Well, I mean, they've sold the silage off or doing a crop and it's all left to farm, and they're not putting livestock back over it. It will drain the farm because the nutrients not going down to feed the microbes.
Right. And lastly, water. How does regenerative farming influence hydration and catchment health?
Oh, it's a phenomenal difference. Like just the moisture retention is just phenomenal. And as we said, the water quality leaving the farm is
with a carbon filtration system built into the ground. Yeah. The big practical question, how do you make it all work? Because all of this sounds inspiring, but farmers still have to run viable businesses.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more, being one of them.
Yeah.
And that's where we've come from, is that you've got to look at your soils to start with and your management practices as you go with it.
So that's where they start if they want to transition?
Yeah.
Looking at the soils?
Watching the videos, get some ideas how it's going. Go out on the farm and get proper soil tests. Understand what the limiting factors are, and then budget from there.
You've talked a bit to the topic of people who are in a different paradigm of thinking, who can't believe the changes that you've made. That can't be possible. You must have this, you must have that. This question, what are the biggest challenges or misconceptions? Am I in the ballpark with it being paradigm shifting, or is it something else? What do you commonly see as the biggest challenge or misconceptions to moving over to regenerative?
It's mindset and paradigm, but it's so ingrained in us. It's actually, gets hard to think that I've gone to university and I paid for an education and they taught me a whole lot of stuff. And this guy's come along and saying, you need to do this, this, this. And they didn't teach me that at university. But even to the point where I'll go, I'll give you this book here and it's got all the trials on silicon. And it's done by university professors from around the world, and they've accumulated all of their knowledge or the best trials into this. I'll give you the ISBN number. I'll give it, and it is a science book. And this happened to me a couple of years back. And because there was a couple of young guys giving me a hard time, or trying to give me a hard time on Facebook. Sure. They weren't succeeding very well, but I was quite enjoying the tate.
Yeah.
So I said to them, well, why don't you look at this? It's in here. This is just the beginning of the cycle. But here, go and get that. And then it turned out, because I found it straight, that they were at Lincoln at the time.
Okay.
And they took that back to the professor that he said, "Oh, it's all rubbish. You don't need to look at that." So what is the university there for? Because there was all these university papers and other scientific papers, and I mean, there must be 15 or 20 different trials and reports and effects on production and all these sorts of things, world-renowned experts, and they were just being told to throw it away. So what part of you went to university, or you go to university, you pay to get an education, and they're giving you so much of what's actually been done right across the...
You're getting indoctrination, not education, because they can't even be claiming to be giving you the opportunity to teach you how to be open-minded or how to process things and bring in new info. You're actually getting closed-minded approaches.
Yes, well, I've just, like I use the situation like with nickel. Yeah. Again, I pick out these papers that are done in universities and research places, and they're saying this is what happens, and this converts your, ammonia, nitrate to ammonia, and this is what happens. I'm going, cool, okay. That stuff all makes perfect sense. How much do I need to put on the soil to actually affect those changes? And so I'm doing these things out on the farm, and what happens is that I see it. Bang, when we get it right, the nitrogen comes down in the plant and it grows true proteins. Bang, then the worms and everything else stop. Bang, and then we got, like all these other... That I needed them to have done that work for me to actually be able to take it and go, there, you guys did the work, but when you've put this in with all these other parts that have been done before and nobody's doing this and you're not teaching it and you're saying it's rubbish... So what are you saying? Are you saying the university is a complete and utter waste of time? And I'm going, no, there's all these people that have done all this research. Why don't you actually be a bit more broad-minded about the approach?
It's a little bit like they're picking and choosing what to put forward to these graduates, to these graduating students, and you would hope that maybe it's not based on who's sponsoring the studies or who's sponsoring the halls, who's put their title on that classroom,
So my advice to the people that say it can't be done or whatever is that just broaden your perspective. You went to university, they taught you a little bit of what's out there, okay? The science is so vast. I mean, we could be Star Trekking across the universe for a long bloody time on this one.
Funny.
Yeah, and somebody said to me the other day they'd done a deep dive into soils, and I go, gosh, in the time frame, they must have got about 0.5 millimetre.
Yeah, deep dive.
Deep dive. But the thing is that it's a vast subject, but it's been well researched. And like when I started doing finding out about electricity in soil, there was a shitload of studies we found out about the effect that it had on microorganisms, the exponential growth and this and plant growth and all that. The only part that I actually had identified was that certain forms created electricity in the soil through just like a solar panel. It's a multiplier. But my claim to fame, but there's so much other work that's been done that we've actually, thanks for that. Oh man, now that makes sense why we put it with this piece.
Yeah.
And somebody else has done this. And look, this cobalt issue has been well researched in this country. It was called bush sickness in central North Island. And we realised that if we want to grow soil, we're going to need some level of cobalt. Fine. Okay. You did the research. We understand that. We're trying to work out the amount that we need to put on to keep growing the soil to increase the production. Without it, we know everything stops. Cool. Okay. Thanks for the research. Why aren't we not continually be told, or open to that sort of thinking? That's regenerative. That is being
open. It would be an
open.
exciting frontier if that mindset was in play, because we'd have all these cool new things coming back into for a look around again to look at some older information and some new things all coming in. I hope that can be broken and allowed to happen again.
Well, I don't mindset. It's just a
tight mindset.
If the people have gone to university and learned all this stuff, okay, and so many of the people I've heard over time, it allows us to learn. It teaches a way to think. I'm going, good, think a little bit of that. All the other stuff that was done all around the world has a relevance to what you learned then. And bring it in.
Bring it in.
Yeah.
When people approach you to go the EFA route, which is essentially a regenerative farming approach, starting with the soil, how long does it take to see that transition? You joked in the recent video with Ross and Lance about how people often give you about 3 years. to get things done. And you said I wouldn't give anyone 3 years, but their results happened in about 18 months, right? What's the normal shift?
A year, 18 months, there was a significant, absolutely significant change.
Are we seeing soil and productivity change?
Yes.
Okay. And animal health too, from what I learned.
But in saying that, it's to do with time of year, where you're at. Like I like to get people with the product on the ground in the autumn, from Christmas onwards, to set you up.
For the Southern Hemisphere, by the way, folks, because we have
even
opposite
then,
seasons here.
And I say that differently too. There's always limitations or non-limitations. Like if you go to Canterbury and you start a program in the spring and you're on irrigated ground, it's great. You can just get it to go.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you can just bring the moisture in with what that we've put on, and you've got hot sunny days, you can actually get the microbes and everything to go ballistic anyway.
Yeah.
Fine. In other places with dryland country, well, it's got to be on in the autumn so it actually works all winter, breaking down the trash, turning nutrient availability so that when spring comes, it's actually spring. Everything has swings and roundabouts. Seasons change. It's been a good season this year, and we are getting so many positive results that are further ahead because they've had more moisture in the soil, and the microbes and everything else has been able to go more ballistic for a longer period of time.
That's cool.
And so, results that I would be dreaming about in the past have happened within 8 months, 9 months.
Wow.
And really happy, and where we're seeing those Californian thistles fall out. And so then when you back that up with numbers, I had a herbage test this morning. No detectable aluminium in the plant.
Far out.
And 70 parts per million and that's year one.
Yeah.
And I'm going, yay!
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. So it is science, and it is achievable. And stop thinking the limitation of what we're in now, and the biggest limitation in ourselves about being able to break down that paradigm, that maybe we weren't wrong, we just didn't know.
There'll be people watching this who want, and we get this feedback, people who want to approach you and make the changes that you're talking about. They feel drawn to it. They resonate with that. This question might help them, though. What mindset shifts are required alongside practice changes? Because that'll be the thing they're thinking, right? That'll be the objection of, will I have to do stuff I'm not prepared to do?
Well, don't think you've ever done anything wrong before. You've just done it because you didn't know. And just think about, is there a better way? You don't still drive the same car that you did when you first learned to drive because somebody made a better car. They didn't know that they could drive, cars that have V6 diesels in it that do 8 litres to the 100 Ks 50 years ago. Well, even 20 years ago. I mean, I had a 5-cylinder diesel truck 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get it under 10 litres per 100 Ks.
Okay.
Now I'm driving one that's even bigger, only a little bit, but it's doing 8.
It's amazing.
20% drop in fuel consumption.
Yeah.
And it'd have at least 30% more horsepower, at least.
Wow.
So you don't stick with what you did before. If the option is in front of you for the same price and the information is changing through, you can, I'll take that. And that's what we've missed out in agriculture. It's like in engineering, phones, computers, everything else, we expect an increase in technology or usability or ability to get these gear, and so that we can go forward. Why don't you expect that in farming? What's your paradigm problem that you think that you're stuck where we are, we have to do what we did in the past?
Oh, but Ewan, we figured it all out. There's nothing more to learn. That's got to be what they're thinking, right?
Well, this is what's peddled.
Oh, we've been doing it like this for 50 years on this farm. That's another one.
Yeah, we've
always done it this way.
Yeah, they didn't even have a mobile phone then.
But you know what I mean? The whole objection of we won't change?
Totally, but that's what I'm trying to just promote to people. It's all right to change. There's nothing wrong with this. It's not a slight against the farmer or I've spent all this money I didn't need to. We just need to go, okay, we're past that now.
Yeah.
We've got some more stuff to get on with. It's cool. Let's go here.
Yeah.
And it's much more fun to go that way than try and defend a position that in the end is going to be undefendable. In the end, it's just going to be like everyone else is going really good and you're not going so good and your clients aren't doing too well and all this sort of stuff. It's like, in the end, they're going to walk away from you, or the people you talk about. And this is a funny thing about when we talked about the Ross and Lance, I said about Tim, how do you know when you've really made some changes?
I remember.
Yeah. He said, go to the pub. Yeah.
Well, wasn't it talk to a conventional farmer?
Yeah, and that's and he just said, I know. When you go to the pub and they talk about their in and the this and that, and he's just starting to get people coming. What are you doing, Ross? What are and he just said, well, I was going to hold on for 3 years. We're going to beat that. He's now starting to talk now, and he's going, well, it is really changing. It is really working. It is making a massive difference to how we farm and how we enjoy life.
Yeah, to the point that he was thinking about having an open day.
Absolutely.
Like you do. Okay, so what advice would you give to farmers in New Zealand specifically?
Get accurate. Get educated. Don't get stuck on paradigms and little things. One, change. Like, you got to be prepared to change things, all things. You're grazing. If you change your soil, you're going to change what grass you grow. You're going to change the way that you graze. You're going to change how many times you drench the animals. You're going to change what you don't. You've got all these skills. This is one of the things that farmers that I think they're really, 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 really underrated.
Mm-hmm.
Kids that grow up on farms and people that have got all these skills, we're weathermen, we're vets, we're bloody livestock managers, we're this, and we got a bazillion skills. And yet we don't give ourselves enough credence to actually how many skills we have. Now, if you take those skills and just take it to what is, it's not about this time of the year we're going to do this. Yeah, of course, there's still going to be, cows calve in the spring and some people do it in the autumn. But, these are the natural flows that you follow. But be prepared to go, well, they didn't have to do that. I mean, this is the part where Lance, he used to religiously spread mag oxide on the pastures before calving because that's what you did to get rid of milk fever. He buys 6 tons of Vitus and he puts it in a drum and he doesn't have any milk fever. And so he doesn't dust anything. Now, I've got other clients that were going to go and still carry on spreading mag. And I said, don't. It'll upset the natural gut cycle in the animal. Let it do its own thinking. It worked.
Well, in closing, what we've done today is talk about what it means to be a regenerative farmer, because it has been a loosely used term. I think it means different things to different people. It has scared conventional farmers off at times because that's woo-woo or that's crazy talk. It's been good to talk about this and in relation to what organic means, because that doesn't necessarily mean they're doing great either.
No. But some of them are.
But some of them, of course, and we love them too. So in closing, what excites you the most about the future of regenerative farming?
Look, the most exciting part is you're being part of it, Stephen, is like this studio has created a bomb and it's going off.
Yeah. Wow.
And I
mean, I know nothing.
Oh, except for when you walk in the office and the phone's going and the girls got soil tests running out their ears and the trucks are going back and forth from work. And
I'm starting to go, hey, what's going on here?
Yeah, it is. It's created a storm.
That's cool.
And I think what's come about from it is that we have a really good grasp, and there's still more to learn. There always is. But we have a really good grasp how to sort things out and why they've gone haywire and where to spend the money more accurately. And we also understand the outcomes, like having gone through the process of producing our own beef, butchering it, selling it, being in the restaurant market, being in all these homes. I do get the marketing side, the whole process. And there's a level of scale and scope that's going to come with what we're doing with all the farmers around the country, is that all of a sudden you start to produce an immense amount of beautiful quality food. Now, the consumers out there across the world and here don't even know it exists. Well, our clients do, but they don't even realize that you can buy food of this quality. And this is the changes that people go, oh, I'm regenerative. I should get more money for my beef. Again, oh, God, is it any good? I don't know. I haven't tested it.
Yeah, just being regenerative and calling yourself that, you've got to test it.
Yeah. So,
I mean, that's like just being organic. All you've done is stop certain things.
absolutely.
If you're not getting it the way you need it to be.
Totally.
Yeah.
And so they're limiting themselves into the quality of outcomes as far as the meat production, wool production, tensile strength, all of these things all come with healthy soils and being regenerative. Every part of it goes together.
But if you're regenerative, you've probably got the best chance of really making that happen.
Well, if you've got a regenerative mindset.
Well said.
It's the mindset. And so let's break this paradigm. And I'm relating some of these experiences, even in the last few weeks, of people I talk to, and I can see they're stuck by their paradigm. I'm seeing that they're stuck by their peers or the people that they
call independent experts who come in and just put the kibosh on the passion of their interest. Oh, that annoys me.
Well, they have to believe that independent expert. And I'd say, well,
that's giving their power away, isn't it?
Okay, yeah. And so we haven't got time to let everybody come to the farm, but we do have, days that we have it on the farm. And if they have been through a process and done their soil tests and they're part of it, we now invite those certain people to the farm on those days. Because then
I see. So it's not just free for all to anyone to come along to.
Not anymore. Like I just can't.
Because I know you've got something coming up.
Yeah, you just.
So that's all going to be people who've sort of.
Yeah, they've
taken the time to really do things with their land.
Truly interested, or here's one of them. The wife's so keen as mustard, husband's not.
Okay.
She's done a whole lot of homework. He's still stuck in the paradigm.
Yeah, and he's caught up with all of his daily tasks too. It's hard for him to get out and do extra.
Yes, and
if that's their relationship dynamic.
Well, I got a call from a client down in Taranaki. He went to a discussion group, and what was so cool, which was really funny, but it was really cool. This is the first time he'd gone to discussion group in that area because he'd bought a farm and he was a bit wondering,
Is this a common thing amongst farmers to have a group discussion?
It was a Dairy New Zealand Day, so
Okay.
they do it quite regularly. Anyway, I think the story goes like this. He stayed in the background and they said, well, what are you doing? And I said, well, we've just bought this farm and we're trying to alleviate the aluminium toxicity we have in it and do this.
That's what he said.
Yeah, and a couple of farmers jumped up and go, oh, yeah, fellas, we just put the phosphate up and blah, blah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, but what I was absolutely gobsmacked, I said, I should shake the guy's head. An agent from one of the fertiliser companies said, no, he's right.
Oh, nice.
And that was one of the major fertiliser companies. He said he is right.
Oh, wow.
He needs to get that aluminium down before we can actually progress any further. Now, he didn't say how he was doing it with us and all that sort of stuff.
Okay.
That somebody's finally, they're actually taking notice of what's going on.
Good for them.
Yeah. And that's what I thought. Yahoo!
Cool.
It's sinking in.
Good.
And so no matter how much this information gets out there, big companies and that sort of things, there are some people that are actually genuinely looking after the farmers and giving them some interest. So, we're having an effect.
Well, it's funny because I was going to ask you, what does success look like for regenerative agriculture in New Zealand? And that sounds like one of the marker points.
Well, that's a good starting point. I guess success for me is the ability to walk out on the farm every day and just see what's going on our block. And I just like, wow, I'm still amazing myself about the improvements that we're making and what's happening. It's just cool. It's great to be a farmer.
Yeah, it is. One last thing. If listeners could remember one idea from this conversation, what do you think the takeaway is?
Find your limiting factors first. Don't make...
Which is from a soil test.
That's right. Don't make aspirations about what you think it might be or somebody else's attitude out there. Go and get a soil test. And I had a really
not any soil test.
No, get a soil test from what we do. I had a really brilliant conversation the other day with Sarah, our agent in the South Island, and a client in Five Rivers. He'd watched the soil videos.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and he said, your relationship to the totals of this and that, and I said, yeah. And he said, well, what's wrong with mine? And I said, yours is really subtle, but you've bought an absolute gem of a farm.
Ah.
And he hadn't soil tested before it, but when you
hit lotto then, didn't he? Because, he just bought well.
Did he ever? Yeah. And I just said to him, you're not thinking of selling it.
Oh, wow.
It's that good. And I said, critical things you've already pointed out. There's thistles everywhere. Okay, so we know there's a bit of a silicon issue then because of thistles are coming. But it shows up in subtleties there, and there. And there's in the herbage test, there's there.
And that's why he was asking what's wrong with my farm, because he
Yes.
had a symptom. And you're actually going, this is great. We only got small things to fix. Everything else is looking good.
Yeah, and that was the way he was looking at it. He says, gee, man, these
Ah.
tests are looking pretty damn good. And I said, yeah,
Yeah.
you won't buy a better piece of dirt where you are.
So he was confounded. So what is wrong?
Well, he was learning and said, well, what do those subtleties mean? And how? And
Yeah.
I just said to him, look, they're there and there, and you'll go gangbusters. And he was just
Wow.
delighted.
Yes.
And so that's an educated. He's got past, there's no paradigm shifts. He's looked at the videos. He goes, oh, that's their interrelation to that. He's not trying to tell me any lies. That's the reality. And here's my soil test. And bang, 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 bang. We were done in 20 minutes, and he was just like,
Positive.
I'm going.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exciting.
It is.
Well, that's a really cool way to end our regenerative chat on this one today. I'll see you in the next one.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'd just say, open the mind a bit and don't be so confounded. And if people are confounding you, say, oh, that can't happen, that can't do it. Why not? Why not?
Ask different people.
Yeah. Anything's possible.
Keen to dive deeper? Check out our audiobook and Eco Farmer's Discovery on Spotify, or grab our free ebook, The 6 Things You Need to Improve Soil and Farm Profit. Links in the description.